Right, so you ready to jump into some coaching carousel action with me?
Always game for a good carousel ride.
Especially when it involves a program like Washington State, right?
Yeah.
I mean, they got to find a new head coach after Jake Dickert took off for Wake Forest.
Yeah, what a curveball that was.
Total shocker. Tough spot for the Cucks, too. It's a tough gig, especially with all the Pac-12 craziness lately. But for the right coach, this could be a real hidden gem, don't you think?
Absolutely. Potential is there for sure.
Yeah, and we've got like a mountain of articles here, 24/7 College Football Network, even some juicy fan forum stuff. Our mission, if you choose to accept it, is to try and figure out who'd be the best fit to take over in Pullman. You ready to dive in?
Born ready. Let's go.
All right. So first things first, the timing on this is wild.
Wild is an understatement. Early signing periods breathing down their necks. The transfer portal is basically a college football flea market right now. Wazoo needs to make a move, and fast.
No kidding. But it sounds like they're trying to do it on a budget.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, a bunch of these articles mentioned they're aiming to lower the salary for the new coach. So does that mean they're thinking like an up-and-coming assistant, maybe someone from the FCS ranks?
It's definitely a strategy, you know. I mean, sure, a lower salary might shrink the pool of candidates, but it also kind of sends a message, doesn't it? Like, they're looking for a coach who's in it for the long haul, not just a quick payday.
The build a program type.
Exactly. Someone ready to roll up their sleeves and really dig in.
But is that being too cautious? Are they aiming too low here?
It's a gamble, no doubt. But hey, think about it. They're putting their faith in potential instead of, a big name, a proven track record.
Proven track record, yeah.
It might attract a coach who's hungry, someone who sees this as their shot, their chance to make a real splash.
I see what you're saying. So who fits that mold? Well, the name that keeps popping up everywhere, really, is Brent Vigen.
Montana State's got a good one there.
Yeah, he's got him in the FCS championship game right now. And his record, 46 wins, 9 losses over 4 seasons, that's impressive at any level.
He's the real deal. Playoffs every single year at Montana State. And what's really interesting is the Jake Dickert connection. They coached together.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah, at Wyoming and North Dakota State. So there's already that familiarity there with the system, with the philosophy that worked so well for Dickert at Washington State.
That's huge, especially how little time they have to get someone in place. A smooth transition, that's got to be the top priority.
For sure. And there's even chatter that Vigen might bring his whole staff from Montana State. Imagine that.
Whoa. So they just roll in as a unit.
Boom. Hit the ground running. No time wasted on building a new staff. Talk about seamless.
That would be pretty wild. But here's the big question, right? Would Vigen actually leave a program where he's built something special? They're in the championship game, for crying out loud. To jump into the unknown with Washington State and this new look Pac-12, that's a risky move, even for him.
Yeah. He'd be leaving a sure thing, a contender for a program that's still trying to find its footing, But then there's the potential upside, right? A much bigger paycheck and the chance to prove himself on a bigger stage.
Classic risk-reward scenario, huh?
You got it. And the Dickert connection adds another layer to all this. If you really trace it back, their coaching tree, it all stems from Craig Bohl at North Dakota State. There's a shared offensive philosophy there, a way of doing things that's worked at multiple levels of college football.
So for Vigen, it might not feel like such a leap into the unknown. More like stepping into a system that's already familiar, one he knows can win.
Yeah, think about it. Familiarity, proven success. And don't forget the recruiting side of things. Washington State and Montana State, they fish in a lot of the same waters, so there's already a built-in comfort level there.
Interesting. So we've got a coach with a winning pedigree, a shared philosophy with the previous coach, and he's already familiar with the recruiting landscape. On paper, Vigen ticks a lot of boxes.
He does. But let's not forget, there are other intriguing names out there, too. One that comes to mind, Kirby Moore. He's the OC at Missouri right now.
Ooh, yeah, Kirby Moore. Young guy, bright future, and he's got those local ties, right?
Yeah.
From Prosser, Washington.
Exactly. Knows the state, knows the region, could be a real asset on the recruiting trail.
But he's making bank at Mizzou. Something like $1.3 million. Would he really take a pay cut to come to Pullman?
That's the million-dollar question, isn't it? It's one thing to bet on yourself, take a lower salary for a head coaching job. It's another thing entirely to take a significant pay cut, even for a promotion.
It really makes you wonder if Wazoo's trying to save money.
Yeah.
If that's going to backfire on them. If they're serious about more, they might have to pony up.
Oh, for sure. You get what you pay for, especially in this business. If they want to land a top-tier coach, they got to be willing to spend.
Right, right. Okay, so Moore's got the potential, but the money could be a snag. What about a guy like Jim Moore Jr.? Tons of experience, NFL, Pac-12, and he's at UConn now.
Seasoned coach, no doubt,
Yeah.
but there are some question marks there. I mean, his success at UConn, it's come against, well, some pretty weak competition.
Yeah, not exactly murderer's row.
Right. So would that translate to the Pac-12? That's a legitimate concern.
Kind of apples and oranges, right? You can't really judge him based on who he's played against at UConn.
Exactly. And that's what makes him such a wild card in this whole thing. He's got the name recognition, the experience, but whether that translates to wins at Washington State, it's anyone's guess.
Intriguing. Okay, then there's Bobby Hauck. He's practically a legend at Montana, but that UNLV stint, not so much.
Ooh, yeah, Hawk. Talk about a boom or bust candidate. Dominated at the FCS level, but UNLV was a total disaster. It's like, which Hawk are you going to get? The Montana Hawk or the UNLV Hawk?
That UNLV record, that's a big red flag.
Yeah, it's hard to ignore.
Hard to ignore. And then there's Jeff Choate, former Wazoo assistant. He's at Nevada now, right?
That's right. He's got that insider knowledge, already knows the program, the culture, the recruiting landscape. Could be a huge advantage, especially in a situation like this where they're up against the clock.
Yeah, no learning curve there. He could just hit the ground running.
Exactly. No time wasted getting acclimated. Okay, but here's something else to think about, right? We've been talking about all these potential coaches, but what about the players? The transfer portal, it's a real threat right now.
Oh, yeah, big time.
The longer the search goes on, the more players they risk losing. And with those deadlines coming up, they got to make a move soon.
Tough spot. They need to be thorough, but they also need to act quickly to keep the roster from completely falling apart.
Exactly. And that kind of brings us back to Vigen, right? If he brings his whole staff, that's instant stability for the players, for the recruits.
No disruption, just pick up where they left off.
Yeah, exactly. And the timing, it really couldn't be better for Vigen, right? I mean, if he wins the FCS championship game, he's coming in on a high note. He can use that leverage, get a nice raise and a chance to prove himself at a higher level.
Yeah, he's in the driver's seat for sure. Either stays at Montana State and keeps building that powerhouse, or he jumps to the Pac-12 with a championship under his belt and a staff that's ready to roll.
And for Washington State, they get a coach who's on the rise, who's hungry for a challenge, and who's already familiar with a system that worked for them under Dickert.
Interesting. Okay, so we've talked about the challenges, the potential front runner, a few other names in the mix, but let's zoom out for a second. Big picture stuff.
Yeah.
What does this coaching search really mean for Washington State? Long term, I mean.
This is a defining moment for them. They're entering this new era. The Pac-12 is a whole different animal now. And the coach they choose, that's going to set the tone for everything that comes next.
They're in the crossroads, huh?
Big time. Play it safe, stick with the status quo, or take a chance on someone who can really shake things up, take the program to the next level.
And that's where it gets really interesting, right? So they go with the safe bet, the experienced coach with a familiar name, or do they roll the dice on someone younger, someone with more upside?
It's a gamble either way, right? No guarantees in this business.
Nope. But that's what makes it so fun.
You said it. High stakes, tons of pressure, and the decision they make, it's going to have ripple effects for years to come.
And for you, the listener, this is your chance to see how this all unfolds, in real time. It's like a behind-the-scenes look at how these decisions get made, the factors, the risks, the whole 9 yards.
It's a good reminder that even in a sport like football, where it's all about, schemes and playbooks and stats, it's the human element that really makes a difference. The coaching, the relationships, that's where the magic happens.
Right. All right, we've covered a lot of ground here, but before we wrap up, can't forget about the fans.
Cogs Nation, they're passionate.
And they're ready for a winner.
They've been through it all, coaching changes, conference realignment, the transfer portal madness, the new coach, whoever it is, they've got to be able to connect with those fans.
Yeah, inspire them, give them something to believe in.
And they got to be able to handle the heat. Being the head coach at Washington State, it's not for the faint of heart.
No kidding.
Yeah.
But for the right person, it could be a chance to build something truly special. So we've got a program at a crossroads, right? Fans they're itching for a winner, and you've got this this whole pool of candidates, some with potential, some with question marks. So for you listening out there, why should you even care who ends up coaching the Cougs?
Well, I think on a bigger level, it's a fascinating look at how these decisions get made, right? You've got money, you've got program philosophy, you've got the pressure to win games, and then of course you got to keep the fans happy. It's a lot to juggle.
And in this case, it's even more interesting because of the timing, right? The Pac-12 is a whole new bowl game now.
Yeah.
And Washington State need to figure out how to make it work, the right coach that could give them a real edge.
Oh, yeah, for sure. It's not just about winning next year. It's about building something that lasts, And that means figuring out how to recruit in this new conference, how to work the transfer portal, and how to create a winning culture.
Right. So let's bring it back to these candidates for a minute. We've talked about their strengths, their weaknesses, but for each of them, what do you think is the biggest question mark, the thing we just don't know yet?
For Vigen, it's the level of competition. Can he win in the Pac-12? Can he have the same success he had at Montana State against tougher teams?
Yeah, that's the big one. And for more, it's got to be the money, right? Is he willing to take a pay cut? If Washington State wants him, they might have to open up the checkbook a bit.
No doubt. And then there's more. I mean, can he win against better teams? He did well at UConn, but the competition wasn't exactly top tier. Does he have what it takes to compete in the Pac-12?
And Hawk, it's the inconsistency, which Bobby Hawk are they getting? The Montana Hawk or UNLV Hawk. It's a tough call.
Yeah, tough call. And then Choate, the former Wazoo assistant, I think for him it's his ceiling. Can he be a successful head coach? Can he take what he learned as an assistant and turn it into wins?
So as you follow this coaching search, think about this, what would you look for in a coach? What would be your priorities? Would you go for experience, youth, someone who already knows the program?
And how much weight would you give to things like offensive style, recruiting connections, the ability to get the fans fired up? There's a lot to consider here, and there's no right answer.
Exactly. We've given you the information, the analysis, the insights. Now it's up to you to decide what you think.
Stay curious, stay informed. That's what it's all about.
Couldn't have said it better myself. Thanks for joining us on this deep dive into the Washington State coaching search. We'll be back soon with another episode, and we'll be tackling something else in the world of sports. Until then, keep those brains working.